My name is Mara Ellis. I'm 32, a graphic designer in Savannah, Georgia. I built a quiet life with my husband Cole and our 8-year-old daughter Sophie. Sophie still saves her allowance to buy treats for shelter dogs. She notices butterflies on windowsills. She was my entire world, and every ounce of abuse I tolerated from my biological family, I endured under the foolish belief that keeping the peace would somehow protect her. I was wrong. It almost destroyed her. Growing up in Savannah, family image is everything, especially in the high society circles my parents Gerald and Diane desperately tried to claw their way into. I was the quiet, reliable daughter. Straight A's, never home past curfew, head always down. I believed that if I was perfect enough, compliant enough, my parents would one day look at me the way they looked at my younger brother Derek. They never did. Cole saw through them from the beginning. He'd hold my hand after family dinners and whisper, "Mara, they don't deserve you. You're giving pieces of your soul to people who wouldn't offer you water in a dessert." But I couldn't let go of the fantasy of a loving family. Derek was 2 years younger and treated like royalty from birth. Every mistake excused, every whim catered to, every bill pushed onto my shoulders. The real exploitation started at 18. I'd worked through high school maintaining a perfect GPA while waitressing weekends. I'd been accepted to a prestigious out-of-state design program. 2 weeks before move-in day, my mother pushed a glass of iced tea across the kitchen table without looking at me. "Harper, Mara, you need to be realistic. Derek wants to attend a private business academy in Atlanta. We can't afford both. You're a girl. You can go to the local community college. Step aside for your brother. He's going to do big things for this family." I cried for 3 days. Then I did it. I stayed in Savannah, commuted to night classes, and watched my parents proudly post photos of Derek's high-end dorm room. As soon as I started building my design career and saving money, they turned me into Derek's personal ATM. Whenever he maxed out credit cards or faced lawsuits from failed business ventures, my father would call with the same script. "He's your brother. Mara, family stands together." Over 5 years, they drained exactly $25,000 for $100 of my savings. They never repaid a single dime. Then Derek met Cassandra, old money, just as arrogant. Together they were unbearable. When they got engaged, my parents immediately offered to fund an $80,000 wedding at a historic Savannah estate. Using money squeezed from me and loans they expected me to help cover. Cole begged me not to go. "They treat you like dirt. Look at the invitation. They didn't even put you on the family list." But Sophie was so excited to wear her white flower dress and see her uncle get married. I told Cole we had to go. I thought if I smiled, stayed out of the way, and played the supportive sister, we'd get through the night peacefully. I had no idea Derek and Cassandra weren't just expecting me as a guest. They were expecting me as a footstool. And they'd already planned a trap. The reception at the historic estate was sensory overload. Crystal chandeliers, jazz music, over 200 guests in black tie sipping champagne. Cole and I were seated at the very back table beside the kitchen doors. A blatant insult, but I kept smiling for Sophie. She looked so proud in her white dress, swinging her legs, eating vanilla ice cream. About an hour in, Cole's phone buzzed. An urgent conference call about a major corporate account his firm had been chasing for 6 months. I patted his hand. "Go. It's too loud in here anyway. Sophie and I will be fine." He kissed my forehead and slipped out to the courtyard. Not 10 minutes later, the music stopped. The chatter died. Derek stood near the bridal table, face twisted in theatrical panic. "My phone is gone." Someone just stole my phone. Cassandra gasped, clutching her pearls. Derek stormed to the microphone. My brand new iPhone is missing. It has encrypted banking apps, vendor payout receipts, honeymoon flight barcodes. All my corporate client data. Whoever took it needs to come forward right now. People whispered. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, but I assumed some guest had accidentally picked it up. Then heavy footsteps stopped behind my chair. Derek stood there, eyes glaring down at me with a cold, malicious smirk. Gerald and Diane were right behind him, along with Cassandra and her parents. What's wrong, Derek? What's wrong is your little brat was lurking around the bridal table, right before my phone disappeared. She's been sitting beside me all evening. Don't lie for her, my mother hissed, stepping forward. We all know how you've raised her. I didn't take it, Mommy, Sophie whimpered, clutching my skirt, her big eyes filling with tears. Before I could speak, Derek lunged forward. He snatched Sophie's small denim jacket from the back of her chair, shoved his hand into the pocket, and with a triumphant roar, pulled out a sleek titanium iPhone. The ballroom gasped. Absolutely disgusting, Cassandra's mother announced loudly. A thief in the family. I stared at the phone. Sophie's pockets were tiny. She'd been beside me the whole night. She didn't even know how to bypass a lock screen. Then I caught Derek's eye. For one split second the anger vanished from his face, replaced by a cold, mocking grin. He planted it. My brother had deliberately slipped his own phone into my 8-year-old daughter's jacket to publicly humiliate us and brand my child a thief in front of his new high society in-laws. I stepped between Derek and Sophie and opened my mouth to call out the setup. I never got the chance. Derek's face twisted into pure narcissistic rage. He needed to perform for Cassandra's wealthy family. He needed to be the ultimate protector of their honor. He grabbed the massive oak wedding menu board standing beside the bridal table, solid wood, heavy iron frame, and swung it with everything he had. Not at me, at Sophie. The board struck her directly across the side of her head. The dull, sickening thud echoed through the sudden silence. Sophie didn't even have time to scream. The force lifted her small frame off her feet before she collapsed onto the cold marble floor. Sophie. The sound that tore from my throat didn't sound human. I dropped to my knees and scooped her into my arms. Blood was already seeping through her blonde hair, staining the front of her white dress, pooling onto my hands. She was trembling, gasping, clutching my wrists with tiny, weak fingers. I looked up at the circle of people surrounding us. I looked directly at my mother. Help me. Call an ambulance. Call for help. Diane didn't move. She didn't look at the blood on the floor. She stepped closer to Derek, patted his arm, and looked down at me with pure disgust. Austin has a right to be angry, Mara. You brought a thief into this venue. He was just defending his property. You brought this on yourself. My father crossed his arms. Take your girl and get out. You've ruined your brother's night enough. Cassandra's family murmured that the trash needed to be removed, so they could continue the cake cutting in that moment. My daughter's warm blood soaking through my dress. My own parents defending the grown man who just assaulted a child. Something inside me broke permanently. The naive, forgiving girl who'd spent 32 years begging for their love died right there on that marble floor. My tears stopped. My panic disappeared. Something cold and absolutely clear moved through me like a current. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I was going to dismantle every single person standing in this circle. The side doors burst open, and Cole came running. One look at me on the floor holding our bleeding daughter, and his face went completely pale. He dropped to his knees, checked Sophie's pulse, then pulled out his phone and dialed 911. I stood up, wiped Sophie's blood onto my skirt, and took total calculated control of the room. Within 10 minutes, the ballroom doors opened again. 2 paramedics pushed a stretcher through the crowd. Derek stepped in front of them, smoothing his tuxedo jacket. "Hey, it's just a minor family dispute. We don't need a scene." I walked straight past him and grabbed the lead paramedic's arm. "My brother struck my 8-year-old daughter in the head with a solid oak board. I want every scratch, every bruise, and every drop of blood meticulously documented in your official emergency medical report. She is bleeding from the cranium. I want the legal paper trail started right now." The paramedics looked at the blood, looked at Derek, went straight to work. Cole climbed into the ambulance with Sophie. I stayed behind to finish. As the ambulance pulled away, 2 Savannah police officers entered the venue. Gerald immediately stepped forward with his wealthy businessman voice. "Officers, this is my son's wedding. A misunderstanding over a stolen phone. A minor domestic issue. We have it under control." I walked directly in front of him and faced the officers. "I am the mother of the victim. My brother just committed felony child abuse and assault with a deadly weapon. I am pressing full charges and I demand an immediate investigation." Derek laughed nervously. "She stole my phone. I found it in her pocket. I have witnesses." My mother and Cassandra's parents loudly confirmed the lie. I didn't argue. I turned to the venue manager standing nearby, frozen with fear. "This estate has high-definition CCTV cameras covering every inch of this ballroom. Manager, take us to the security room right now." "Officers, I want the last 30 minutes played on the main projector screen in this ballroom so every guest can see exactly what kind of person they've been celebrating tonight." The manager, terrified of a lawsuit, didn't hesitate. The security footage loaded onto the ballroom's overhead projector, in front of 200 silent guests. Crystal clear, unmistakable. Derek walking to our vacant table while I was looking away, pulling his own phone from his pocket, glancing around nervously, slipping it deep into Sophie's tiny denim jacket. The silence was suffocating. Then Cassandra turned and looked at Derek with utter horror. Before he could speak, she swung her hand and slapped him across the face so hard the sound echoed off the high ceilings. "You sick, pathetic psycho. You framed an 8-year-old child and cracked her head open just to play the big man. You are a monster." She tore off her engagement ring, hurled it at his chest, and turned to her parents. Within 2 minutes, Cassandra and her entire family walked out of the venue, permanently canceling the wedding and leaving the $80,000 event in ruins. The officers walked straight up to Derek, grabbed his arms, and forced them behind his back. The metallic click of handcuffs locking over the sleeves of his expensive wedding tuxedo was the most satisfying sound I had ever heard. Felony child abuse, aggravated assault, filing a false police report. When Gerald and Diane realized their golden boy was actually going to jail, they completely fell apart. My mother dropped to her knees, clutching my bloody dress. "Harper, please. It will ruin his life. He'll lose everything. Think of the family name." I pulled my dress from her hands and looked her dead in the eye. "You told me he did what any man would do." My voice was very quiet. "So now he can go do it in a state penitentiary." The officers warned my parents that continued interference could result in accessory charges. They stepped back. Derek was led out of his own wedding venue in handcuffs, facing years in prison. Today, Sophie's physical wounds have fully healed. She is back to being the bright, Gentle girl she was, the one who saves her allowance for shelter dogs and notices butterflies on windowsills. Cole and I cut contact with my parents and brother completely, blocked on everything. Numbers changed. We live in peace now. Real peace. The kind I didn't know was possible until I stopped trying to earn love from people who were willing to sacrifice my daughter to protect their pride. I spent 32 years trying to buy that love. It took seeing my child's blood on my hands to understand it was never for sale, because they never had any to give. I chose my daughter. I would choose her again every single time.